Welcome back to Spitballin Cards. In today's video, we're talking all about the playoffs. So this should be coming out on Thursday. So the playoffs have technically already started. We are recording Monday. So we have some issues with that, obviously, because there's a doubleheader happening right now to determine which team out of three, there's going to be two getting in, actually make the postseason. So we're going to be working around that. And we're going to work with the assumption that all three teams make it, because it's easier to do that than assume all three teams didn't make it or guess, because we don't know. But with that being said, our goal in this video is to talk about which player or team we are excited about, and then which player we're hoping has their cards increase, and which player we're hoping does good, all that good stuff, like whatever thing we're looking for in these postseason playoffs. But we have Jeff, who is a Brewers fan, which is great, and we have Ty, who's a Tigers fan. So this is a really fun time for our Spitballin team, because we have all of our teams besides the Rockies and the Red Sox, at least on this video, in the postseason, which I know Jeff wasn't super optimistic, and neither was Ty about his Tigers. So it's great. Jeff, Ty, how you feeling?
Well, I'll go first. I was one of the few that was optimistic that the Brewers would make the playoffs. I picked them before the season. I didn't really think it would happen. I guess it was more wishful thinking, but they really overperformed what most Brewer fans expected, especially losing Corbin Burns, no Woodruff, and we had a half season of Yelich. But it's been great. So I'm very excited. I hope they can do a little better than last year when they ran into that D-backs buzzsaw. So yes, I'm very excited to watch the Brewers. I hope they get off to a good start, and especially I'm excited about Jackson Chourio. Here's my custom card of Jackson Chourio. He's really shown that he's been able to adjust to the major leagues after a slow start, and so I feel like he's going to be able to do well under pressure. So I'm excited to see how he does, and if he gets some national exposure, how his cards do. He doesn't have a lot of cards out yet. I'm really excited to see his update, Black Parallel, for instance, which should be out, I think, in maybe 2 weeks. I think updates coming out. So I'll be interested to see how his existing cards do, his SSP, especially his SSP in Topps Chrome, as well as some of his Chrome parallels, and look forward to his update cards. So hopefully the Brewers will still be in the playoffs when that comes out. So that's what I'm looking for.
Jeff, are you going to buy a Dynasty RPA of him when it comes out? Is that a set you're going to finally dip your toes in?
I don't know. I guess if there's anything that would get me to do it, maybe that would. But I'm certainly not going to buy a box trying to chase it, because aren't they really expensive?
Oh, yeah. Don't buy a box of cheese.
Yeah, and they're CT scanned.
You can go. Yeah. You're not going
to. All right. Well, if you find a good one, send it to me, and maybe I'll be interested in buying it.
Okay. And then Ty, the Tigers made it. Tiger Ty's on this episode. Tell us about your Tigers.
This has been one of the most fun rides in any sports team that I have rooted for. Going into the season, I thought the Tigers. So I said I would be happy if they finished over 500. I know they have talent, young talent, some who's been getting called up throughout the season. I was optimistic on Jack Flaherty to have a solid year, and he did that. And then we traded him for Trey Sweeney, who has actually been good. I'm still not sure if it was the right move. I think it was. I mean, he probably really was, because Sweeney was probably our third best hitter over the last month and a half. But the Tigers, in order for this run to happen, the Tigers 31-13 since August 11, best record in baseball. And in that same time frame, the Twins and the Royals both finished with two of the worst records in baseball. And all of that led to this equilibrium shift that meant they just barely squeaked in. And it was just icing on the cake. No offense, White Sox fans who might be watching, but that the same day the Tigers clinched, they ensured the White Sox finished with the most losses in modern baseball history in a season. So all of those things felt really good. I've watched almost all of their games for the last 2 weeks. So it's basically been like playoff baseball for me, and it's really exciting. What's really interesting is, outside of Tarek Skubal and to some extent now Jackson Jobe, since he got the call up and has pitched 4 scoreless innings for them in the last few days, they don't have really any major star power. Yes, they have Riley Green, who's had a really nice year, and I'm a big fan of Riley Green. But this is just some weird, chippy, gritty team that reminds me of that Royals team that went and won a World Series. And they're playing small ball. They get big hits. From a card market perspective, the only player on the team right now that I see having like significant impact potentially if they make a run would be Skubal and maybe Riley Green at this point.
Green has a lot of potential. Green's been great this year. What did he end up with? Do you know off the top of your head his stats?
Like an 70 OPS, I want to say, something like that. But he's had a nice year. He's had a really nice year. So
24 homers, 262 average, 827 OPS, 133 OPS plus.
So good.
Not bad for a 23-year-old, really.
Yeah.
5.4 WAR. He could have a big postseason. People will be looking at his cards probably for not the first time, but the average card collector for the first time. So,
yeah, and he was, very much a big part of this run over the last month and a half. Like, he was their best hitter during that time frame, and he's got a nice swing too. Like, I don't know if you guys ever watched. He's just got a really nice swing. So I like watching him. He's a wizard in the field. Overall, I'm just a big fan of his.
what about Torkelson? Is he ever going to develop? Does he look good? Like,
you know what? Torque's been I wouldn't say he's been good, but he's been much better since he got called back up from the minor leagues. And he had some really big hits, including an absolute bomb. We were watching this game. My 8-year-old's literally going like, this guy stinks. All he does is strike out. He's like 0 for 3 in the game with 3 strikeouts. And I go, no. He's hitting a 3-run shot right here and just nuked it. Absolutely. It was like 440, just smoked it. He's like, okay.
Was your kid impressed? Was your kid impressed that you predicted the?
Yeah, he was very impressed. He was very impressed. And it wasn't on. And then I had to go get I don't know where I put it now, but I had to go get my clear Torkelson. Here it is. I had to go get my non-rookie, just my clear to 10 that I overpaid for before the season. So,
oh, that's cool. Okay, well, Phil, who are you excited to watch, and are there any players you're interested in seeing in regards to their card values?
Yeah, so as I brought up in a previous episode, with me, it's all about taking the chance and seizing it. And the team, the further it goes, the better the player has to kind of explode. So multi-day power surge is sort of like the quickest path, I feel like, to relevance and to getting that buzz. So not that you have to be a power hitter to do it. Jeremy Pena did it. But for that reason, I think Torkelson is one to maybe look at, but I don't know how long the Tigers will be in. But it's all about who's the hottest. So who knows? Like with me, I'm going back a little bit further. So Ty was talking about like win-loss record probably in like September and August. Going back a bit further, the Padres and Houston Astros have to be like at the top of the standings if you're to look at like second half. The Astros, it looked like they weren't going to make the playoffs for a while. So with those two teams, Astros obviously they play well in these moments. So Altuve is a guy I might be looking at, not to buy, but for selling opportunities. With me, it's all about kind of capitalizing on that hype. With the Padres, I'd be looking at Manny Machado. And he's been really hot lately, which obviously matters here. Low-hanging fruit, I might call it, but like Jackson Merrill and Jackson Chourio, those are a couple players that, yes, like their hobby is a bit recognized right now, Chourio more than Merrill. But I don't know if the entire hobby has watched them play yet. And I think this might be an opportunity for folks to be like, wow, like I actually really like his approach and he's better than I thought he was. And he passes the eye test and he has to actually be producing on top of it. But
the Evan Carter effect, Phil.
Yeah, exactly. So again, not using this opportunity to buy, but I'll be curious also about teams that get bounced quickly, especially if the Dodgers do, or if any of the teams that have a lot of hobby stars, if they get bounced quickly, I might be looking at the ability to buy if there's any dip.
Okay, that's cool. Players I'm looking at, I want to see Juan Soto do Juan Soto postseason stuff with the Yankees. Maybe that's too obvious, but I think that's going to be important for him to stay in New York and fans to love him. I think this year is a good opportunity for the Yankees to make a run. In the past, it didn't really feel that way, but I feel like now is a good time, and we'll see what happens. So that'll be cool. I also care about Mookie Betts. I have a stake in that, and I would like to see him be better than last year, which I don't think is too much to ask because he was literally 0 for 12, I think. So those are the two players I care the most about in regards to like performance and how the cards I have of theirs. But who do I want to win? Now, I'll have to think about that because I don't really know if I really want either of those teams to be the World Series winner. But it'd be a fun World Series matchup to have the Yankees and the Dodgers. I won't lie there. Maybe I'll root for the Tigers and the Brewers World Series. Maybe that's what I'll root for. And then at that point, I don't care who wins. So
I am obviously, and I know Chris would say this, pulling for the Braves today. We mentioned if the Braves and Mets split the series, then they'll both make it and the D-backs will be out. And if either team wins both, then they're obviously in and the D-backs are in. And The Diamondbacks, since the All-Star break, you mentioned this, Phil, records. So the Padres have the best record since the All-Star break at 43-20. But I think did they just lose 2 of 3 to the Dodgers, or did they get swept? I know they lost at least 2 of those games. I missed the result of the third, but they just had a series with the Dodgers and they lost that series. The Dodgers have the second best record, maybe unsurprisingly, since the All-Star break. The D-backs are third, Tigers fourth, Mets fifth, Brewers sixth, Astros seventh. So it was really just that first 5 weeks for the Astros that was abysmal. And then they've been playing really good baseball ever since then. So that's who the Tigers play in the first round. I was hoping for the Orioles, but ultimately you got to beat all the teams to make it there. But I think what's one player that's really interesting, who's been seeing a lot of buzz and growth around this, I know you know this, Scott, is Jose Ramirez.
Yeah.
And Cleveland's, they're no joke. They've had a really good season. They're a very competitive team, really well balanced, but obviously Jose's the guy on that team from an offensive standpoint. And he's been seeing some buzz already. He just got kind of hosed and had his final game of the season canceled, so he didn't get a chance at 40-40-40. So who knows? Maybe if he's a guy who, if he did make some noise and Cleveland made a run, could get maybe some more, at least short-term hype around his cards too. But
I saw on Twitter today he had 3 home runs brought back, 3 home run robberies this year too, which hurts a little bit because he could have had a couple more home runs. But here's the postseason picture. I would love to see this matchup of the Dodgers Padres. That would be a fun matchup because that kind of feels like a budding rivalry. Dodgers fans won't say that it is, but I feel like it is from an outsider perspective. Other than that, it'd be fun to watch Witt versus Judge and to hear that discourse if that were to happen too. That's something that I think would be interesting. I think Bobby Witt has a lot to gain in this postseason. If you can have a big postseason, he has a lot to gain. So, Anything that you're thinking of after looking at this bracket?
Each of these teams do have, I would say, at least one player on them who could stand to gain a ton going through these. Like there's at least, you mentioned Witt. Look at the Orioles. Somebody on that team of loaded, young players is going to have a big performance if they make it through. Judge and Soto obviously are in there. I don't know. This is going to be fun. Sorry, Jeff. I'm secretly hoping the Braves make it into the 6th spot only because I'd love to have a crack at the Phillies and, in a down year with the entire, roster decimated, have a chance to actually upset them and beat them. But yeah,
we'll see this year if it matters.
I'm rooting for the Brewers. If not, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it's tough with the short series to begin. You just need to have 2 good games in a row for these teams, and we saw that happen with the Diamondbacks last year. So, yeah, it's a huge benefit to be one of the top 2 teams in this postseason structure. The way it's
there is a good chance for you as a Brewers fan though that you're playing either the Braves or the Mets, and they're coming off a doubleheader the day before a postseason game, so that could be a really big win for you potentially.
True,
Yeah.
or just more fuel for the disappointment if we lose that series.
Yeah, last year kind of showed that the long layoff might have had, I think, a lot of ownership and fans that were very much complaining. Some of the Braves folks and others.
Dodgers complained. I think only the Astros, because the Orioles lost, the Dodgers lost, and the Braves lost. Only the Astros made it out after being a top seed, which is pretty crazy. But that could just be baseball, right? That's the hard part. But the year prior, it was also this way. So
yeah, but at least they get a full series. So yeah,
5 games. Yeah, totally. But yeah, so I'm excited. I'm excited for postseason baseball. It's kind of crazy that the baseball season is come and gone, isn't it? Like, it's just crazy. So what we're going to have to do next is talk about an episode where we talk about like the biggest performers for us for this year in baseball cards and who we might buy because of this year, but we're not going to do that now. But any other thoughts around whose cards you're anticipating moving up or down and who you're excited or not excited about?
I would just like to say that I'm sure we're going to get 1 or 2 players that are like Jeremy Pena or an Evan Carter who really excel in their cards when they have them, if they have them, will blow up. And then you just have to be careful about buying into them because the chances are they're going to go down and stay down. So be careful of those.
Yeah. If you're holding any, parallels or anything, rookie cards of guys like that who are kind of cheap right now, get them organized and get them into a small box for the playoffs, because somebody will go off and spike up in value for sure.
Don't get FOMO. Like, this is a hard one. Maybe like with Bryce Harper, if he goes crazy again, wins World Series MVP, like maybe you get FOMO then and buy. But like, this is one of the worst times to buy. We saw, who was it? Adolis Garcia last year was the man, and his cards have just dropped ever since, because obviously it was kind of just, he was hot at the right time. So probably better time to sell than buy. Do we agree? In every single way?
150%.
For sure.
So just be careful. Don't buy into it. We all have that problem though at times. So
here's your Garcia parting gift. Last year, his auto Stadium Club. I have one of these. A Stadium Club auto spiked up to almost $100, and now recently down around $20 again, where it started last year. So don't get FOMO.
Yep.
Cool. Well, any final thoughts as we wrap this episode up? Call it a short one today.
Let's wrap it.
All right. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. We look forward to discussing the postseason throughout the next few weeks, and we will see you in the next video.